And when corners and premier positions hit the free agent market, you said they're going to need the cash available for the offensive line because there's no such thing as too many good offensive linemen. There's no such thing as too many good corners either. Kyle Crabbs and Brentley Weissman of the Draft Network here to talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. And Brentley, the Chargers are a team who they feel like they're close. They have a lot of really good talent. They have to be really encouraged by the play of Justin Herbert to this point. But at the same time, you look at them moving forward into the 2021 offseason, and they'll have a modest amount of salary cap space to work with, but they do have some difficult decisions about how to play their cards and go from being close to jumping into contender status. And we already saw this team make one business decision with the decision to trade Desmond King ahead of the trade deadline, not having to worry about paying that big contract out. So when you look at the Chargers and their cap situation, you look at the players that are set to be expiring contracts, what are some of the conflicts that you foresee the Chargers facing?
Yeah, Kyle, first things first, obviously the play of Justin Herbert, Oregon Duck, been phenomenal for the Los Angeles Chargers, and they have a lot to be encouraged about, and the fans, in LA need to have some patience here. The team is close, but, there are some holes and some free agent issues that will have to be addressed. When you look at who's, the expiring contracts for the Chargers, who's set to become a free agent in 2021, some names stick out, right? You have Melvin Ingram, you got Michael Davis, the corner. You got Mike Pouncey. You got Hunter Henry. You got Denzel Perryman. And you got Rayshawn Jenkins. The big name here is Melvin Ingram, right? I think he's like a 3-time Pro Bowler. Him and Joey Bosa combined are one of the best, if not the best, pass rushing duo in the entire NFL. But the issue is with Ingram is he's 32 years old. He's coming up, like he has a major knee injury right now, which is going to cost him pretty much the entire season this year. Then even last year he missed, I think it was 3 or a couple games last year with injury. So the question here for the Chargers is, do you pay Ingram whatever he's asking to try to keep him on a defense with Joey Bosa? Because you need pass rushing help opposite Bosa. That is evident. I'm just not sure you do it, man. I don't think the team is at that point where they're a Melvin Ingram coming back away to be competitive. He's old. He's injury prone, and to me, that feels like he has one, maybe not even one good year left, right? I just feel like at this point he's a sunk cost, and he's got to let him go. The other guy I would want to bring was Hunter Henry. Look, I love Hunter Henry. I think from a talent perspective, he's a top 6-7 tight end of the NFL. The things he can do from not only in the receiving game, but he's an excellent blocker, inline blocker. He's a difference maker in the running game. But do you pay him what he's going to be looking for? Because, we looked at Austin Hooper's contract last year. I think he got a 4-year deal with an average salary of, $10.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's a big chunk of change, for a tight end in Hunter Henry who has been injured. He missed a whole year with his ACL. He's had other injuries in his career. Then we look at the production, he doesn't produce at the level at which you'd be comfortable with paying a guy a premium. And so I love the talent. I don't really see the production. But, at the end of the day, you got to pay your good players. And so I would probably lean towards paying Hunter Henry, but I don't think it's a slam dunk.
Well, it feels like between those two, it can be a one or the other type of proposition, right? Because these are both 8-figure annual average salary players as far as they're going to command, Hunter Henry playing this season on the franchise tag, $10.6 million. Melvin Ingram this year earning $16 million. As a high-level pass rusher, that's just the price of doing business for these guys. So Chargers somewhere around $30 million in cap space with the reduced salary cap in 2021. And of course, you don't want to make business decisions just based off 1 year of reduced salary cap, but the Chargers also have to be honest with themselves about being a young team and staying a young team, because if you start to spend your cap, well, you need to build around the franchise quarterback. and you were to retain both Ingram and Henry, then you really get into, okay, we don't have a lot of cap flexibility or mobility to kind of change directions as we get more information on what Justin Herbert needs around him.
No question. And I mean, honestly, like the team needs to address offensive line in free agency. So they need money on hand to be able to come in and bring in a new center. Like I said, Mike Pouncey's a UFA. I would, under no circumstance, expect him to be back in the Chargers. He's 31 years old. He's suffered 2 major injuries back-to-back years. And even before that, in 2018, his play was on the decline towards the end of the year, which we saw, really hurt the running game against the Patriots and stuff like that. So they're going to need a new center. They need 2 new guards. In my opinion, they probably need 2 new tackles. I mean, honestly, like they need to address the offensive line. And so you need money on hand. And so you're totally right. Like, I personally would not sign Melvin Ingram. I would sign Hunter Henry. But you also still need to be able to address other positions that will maximize Justin Herbert.
And then there's the defensive side of the ball. And one of the names that you mentioned was cornerback Michael Davis, who's a really good-looking football player this year for them. And he's another guy who is an upcoming undrafted or unrestricted free agent. And corners aren't cheap either. And the Chargers won't have problems finding the money to secure him and extending him on an extension. But I guess the question is, in your opinion, how high are you willing to go to pay him? Because if he hits the free agent market, there's going to be interest. And when corners and premier positions hit the free agent market, you said they're going to need the cash available for the offensive line, because there's no such thing as too many good offensive linemen. There's no such thing as too many good corners either.
No question. And, I was actually with the Chargers when they brought in Michael Davis to UDFA. And it's been incredible to see, the amount of improvement he's shown in his 4 years in the NFL. And so I'm happy to see his success. But, personally, I would bring him back. I think the team loves his length. The team loves his competitiveness. And like I said, his arrow is still up. But if it comes to a bidding war, I can't do it. I can't pay Michael Davis an X amount of money where it will limit my ability to do other things in free agency. And so if he's willing to come back on a team-friendly deal, then yes, I'm all in on bringing back Michael Davis, because I think, with the play of the other corners in Hayward and Harris, Davis is actually really needed because he's only one with the size and length. But at the same time, there's a ceiling for me of where I'm willing to pay him, and so he can test free agency. I hope he would come back, but again, I have a hard time paying him, premium if that's what he's seeking.
So ideal scenario is probably they iron that extension out before the start of the calendar year next year.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this hypothetical that just kind of as we're sitting here talking about this roster and the Chargers projecting somewhere to have around the top 5 pick, but say they come in behind Cincinnati and Dallas as 2 teams that, really need offensive line help. And I know you've got a little bit of a soft spot for one Penei Sewell. And if those teams are in front of the Chargers, Penei Sewell is probably not going to be in play for the Chargers, but you're looking at a top 5 pick potentially. So, you got potential pass rushers in Kwity Paye and Greg Rousseau. You got potential corners in Pat Surtain and Caleb Farley. You got a trade back option if that's on the table for a team that maybe needs a corner. So, if this develops for their offseason and we see Melvin Ingram ends up leaving as a casualty and Mike Pouncey is gone, whether it's from retirement or going off in free agency and signing somewhere else as well, and then you potentially have some losses in the secondary if they don't retain Michael Davis, what's the best course of action for the Chargers?
Well, I mean, like you said, if Penei is gone, then I think you got to look at either a corner or an edge rusher. So it comes down to, either Patrick Surtain from Alabama, Kim Farley from Virginia Tech, or, Gregory Rousseau from Miami. In my latest mock draft, I ended up giving them Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech. And the reason being is I just felt that, the depth at edge rusher is a little better in this year's draft than the depth at corner. So it'd be smart to get the premium corner, come back in the 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th round and still get a quality edge rusher. That being said, if they're sitting at either 4 or 5, that's a premium trade down position because you're going to have teams like, Minnesota potentially, Chicago, San Francisco, New England, you name them, who are going to want to trade up to get either Zach Wilson or Trey Lance. And so that would be the Chargers' best bet, is to try to trade back to team in the teens, get one of those corners, or hell, if they trade back into the teens, look out for Kyle Pitts, look out for Jalen Waddle. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can get creative there, and or you put yourself in position to get Samuel Cosmi from Texas to draft off the offensive line. And so that's what I would do if I was, in their shoes. We're still a long way from that.
Sure.
We have to let free agency play its course. But I think sitting here today, I think the Chargers are in a good spot to really improve this roster.